Prime Minister. I just said I didn't know the Prime Minister was that popular on this side.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues. Now, there's been quite a few of those this week. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Right. So imagine walking into your office on a Wednesday morning, already drenched in controversy, knowing that in approximately 37 minutes, you'll be standing in front of 650 MPs who'd happily watch you spontaneously combust for entertainment. That was Keir Starmer's morning. And spoiler alert, it went exactly as badly as you'd think, except somehow worse. Welcome back to Brit Hour, where we dissect British politics so you don't have to suffer alone. If you're not already subscribed, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button and smash the notifications bell because British politics moves faster than a Tory MP switching positions on, well, literally anything. Today, we're talking about Prime Minister's questions, that weekly blood sport where Britain's leader gets absolutely grilled by the opposition, and sometimes by reality itself. And this week? Oh, this week was special. Keir Starmer walked into that chamber like a man who just realized he'd left the oven on, the front door unlocked, and replied all to a company-wide email. Let's break down this absolute car crash, shall we? So Starmer opens with a joke. Classic deflection tactic. When you're drowning, why not try stand-up comedy? He does the usual Prime Minister routine. This morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues. Standard, boring stuff. But then adds, there have been quite a few of those this week. Chef's kiss. Self-deprecating humor. The audience nervously chuckles. It's like watching someone make jokes at their own funeral. But here's the thing about using humor as a shield in politics. It only works if people think you're in on the joke with them, not that you are the joke. And Starmer, mate, you're the whole circus right now. Because let's be honest, this wasn't exactly the week for cheeky banter. This was the week where everything that could go wrong did go wrong, then went wrong again just for good measure, then invited its mates round to also go wrong. Starmer's approval ratings are lower than a limbo stick at a flatworm convention. So the humor? It landed like a lead balloon made of other smaller lead balloons. He couldn't keep it up either. The smile faded faster than a resolution after January 2nd. And suddenly we're watching a different Starmer. Angry Starmer. Defense mechanism number 2, aggression. Now, Kemi Badenoch, bless her, wasn't about to let this golden opportunity slip away. She comes in swinging with a question so pointed it could open letters. She asks Starmer about his previous claims of always taking responsibility himself, never turning on his staff. You know, that thing he said before he turned on his staff. Because over the weekend, Starmer sacked Morgan McSweeney, his chief of staff. Why? For advising him to appoint Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the U.S. Let that sink in. Starmer took someone's advice, acted on it, then sacked the person for giving him that advice. It's like ordering a curry, eating the curry, enjoying the curry, then firing the delivery driver for bringing you curry. The logic is not logicking. But does Starmer answer Badenoch? Does he address this blatant contradiction? Oh, no. Instead, he pivots to praising McSweeney's achievements, helping change the Labour Party, delivering the smallest number of Conservative MPs in over a century. Lovely stuff, very impressive, but also completely irrelevant to the question asked. It's the political equivalent of, I know you asked me about the broken window, but have you seen how nice the garden looks? And this becomes the theme of the entire session. Question dodge, counterattack, repeat. It's like watching someone play political whack-a-mole, except instead of hitting moles, he's just smacking the machine and hoping everyone forgets what game they're playing. Badenoch points out that last week Starmer defended Chris Wormold, the cabinet secretary, but this week seems to have tossed him under the nearest double-decker bus. Reasonable point. How does Starmer respond? Does he explain his change of position? Does he provide context? Nope. He brings up Suella Braverman's defection to reform. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You're criticizing my inconsistency? Well, your party lost Suella Braverman. It's the schoolyard defense. I know you are, but what am I? This produced, and I'm quoting here, a solitary, gleeful cheer from a Tory MP at the back of the chamber. One MP. One single MP managed to cheer. That's how dire things are. Even the schadenfreude is rationed. Then we get to Matthew Doyle. Oh boy. Badenoch asks why Doyle received a peerage after Starmer knew he'd campaigned for someone charged with child sex offenses. This is not a trick question. This is not a gotcha. This is just a basic accountability question. Starmer's answer? Doyle did not give a full account of his actions, and he's now had the labor whip removed. Right. So the defense is essentially, he didn't tell me the whole truth. Fantastic. The Prime Minister, former Director of Public Prosecutions, someone whose literal job was interrogating people and getting to the truth, is now claiming he was blindsided by incomplete information. It's like a detective saying, yeah, the suspect seemed trustworthy, so I didn't bother checking anything. You were the DPP, mate. Reading between the lines was your thing. But before anyone can process this jaw-dropping admission, Starmer is already moved on to attacking Tories over the rape clause policy. Deflect, deflect, deflect. Then Stephen Flynn, Scottish National Party leader and possessor of absolutely zero chill, steps up. And honestly, he delivers one of the most devastating one-liners I've heard in ages. He points out that Starmer's entire defense strategy seems to be, they weren't clear with me, which means, in Flynn's words, he appears to be the most gullible former director of public prosecutions in history. Ouch. That's going on somebody's highlight reel. That's going on mugs. That's going to be carved into stone somewhere in Edinburgh. Because he's absolutely right. If your defense is repeatedly, nobody told me, then you're either incompetent or lying, and neither is a great look for a prime minister. Starmer's response? More deflection. He brings up Peter Murrell, former SNP chief executive, mentioning his upcoming trial for embezzlement. Again, valid point about Murrell, but also completely unrelated to the question. It's like being accused of crashing your car and responding, yeah, well, your cousin got a speeding ticket in 2019. Transition. Even the Lib Dems get a go. Ed Davey, Liberal Democrat leader and professional thorn in everyone's side, joins the pile-on. He accuses Starmer of failing to take responsibility for his own mistakes. Reasonable criticism, you'd think. How does Starmer respond? Austerity! He literally just shouts austerity and blames Davey for being in the coalition government over a decade ago. 10 years! Imagine being in your 30s and someone brings up something embarrassing you did at your first job. Yeah, well, Ed, you were in the coalition. It's the political equivalent of, you can't be mad at me for burning dinner because you once overcooked toast in 2012. But here's where it gets really uncomfortable, because it's not just the opposition tearing into Starmer. His own MPs aren't happy either. Female Labour MPs in particular are reportedly furious about the government's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein connections, feeling that the abuse of women and girls wasn't taken seriously enough. Labour whips tried desperately to organize vocal support for their leader, clapping, cheering, making noise. But here's the problem. You can't manufacture enthusiasm. You can force noise, but you can't force genuine support. And everyone could see it. The Tory side, despite being dramatically outnumbered, was making more noise. More importantly, the faces of Labour MPs told the whole story. Even Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, Starmer's right-hand woman, who was initially shouting and pointing at Badenoch enthusiastically, ended up stony-faced by the time Flynn had his turn. When your own chancellor looks like she'd rather be literally anywhere else, you know it's bad. Now, credit where credit is due, Starmer did manage one thing. He exceeded expectations. But let's be clear about what those expectations were. After the week he's had, people practically expected him to unfurl a white flag at the dispatch box and ask security to escort him from the building. The bar was so low, it was practically a tripping hazard in hell's basement. So, by simply showing up, showing some fight, and getting through 30 minutes without bursting into tears or resigning on the spot, Starmer technically did better than he might have. Congratulations? That's like saying someone did well in an exam because they spelled their name correctly. It's technically an achievement, but it's not exactly inspiring confidence. But here's what really matters. This PMQs wasn't just about one bad session. This was a symptom of something much bigger. Starmer's entire approach has been reactive rather than proactive. He spent the last week firefighting the Mandelson appointment controversy, the Matthew Doyle peerage scandal, the Jeffrey Epstein connections. Each individual issue might be manageable, but together, it's a pattern, and patterns tell stories. This pattern tells the story of a prime minister who's lost control of the narrative. When you're spending all your time defending past decisions, you're not making future ones. When every answer is a deflection, you're not actually answering anything. And perhaps most damning of all, when your primary debate tactic is, yeah, but what about you, you're not governing. You're just existing, surviving, clinging on. British politics has always been brutal, but there's a difference between taking hits and being a punching bag. And right now, Starmer's looking worryingly like the latter. The Prime Minister came into this role with a massive majority, enormous goodwill, and the benefit of following the chaos that was the late-stage Conservative government. He had every advantage, and somehow he's managed to squander much of that in record time. That's almost impressive in its own right, like watching someone start a race with a jetpack and still finish last. So, what did we learn from this week's Prime Minister's questions? Well, we learned that anger without answers is just noise. We learned that deflection has a shelf life. We learned that even your own MPs can only fake enthusiasm for so long. And we learned that sometimes the biggest threat to a prime minister isn't the opposition, it's their own decision-making. Will Starmer recover from this? Maybe. British political memories are short, and there's always another scandal around the corner to distract everyone. But this PMQs will be remembered as the moment when the Prime Minister had every opportunity to take responsibility, show leadership, and provide clarity, and chose to do none of those things. Thanks for watching this episode of Brit Hour. If you enjoyed this breakdown of political chaos, don't forget you're subscribed and that bell icon is on so you never miss when British politics inevitably implodes again, which, let's be honest, will probably be sometime next week. Until then, stay informed, stay skeptical, and remember, in British politics, it can always get weirder.